Hello everyone, in this video I will be revealing my vocal chain to you. So I'll be showing you how I mix and master vocal tracks, and I will be revealing what and all I add in my channel strip to make the vocal sound better. So let's get into the video. Alright, so the first thing that I do whenever I get the track from the singer is I first analyze the track. So what are the portions that we need and what are the portions that we need to edit out? That is the thing that I first look at. So this is the track that a singer sent me. His name is Javis. So he sent me this, and as you can see, there are portions in this tracks that are cut, right? So that's how I edited it. I basically edited out all the parts where there was either silence or there was breath. Okay, so this is the track now.
Yeah. I get home, I lay in bed and think about.
Okay, so I did that manually, alright. I individually looked at the track and then I cut that out and I faded the beginning and the ending parts of those things so that it'll give us a smooth transition. Once I finished doing that, I added Wavestune. So Wavestune is an Autotune plugin. So I added that and I put inside the key of the song and how much correction I need. So once I add that,
Yeah.
it need not be extremely high. You know, the correction factor or the note transition, if there is something that's out of pitch, it'll immediately bring that to the right note, and that transition will happen soon. What happens is that sometimes that'll look a lot robotic, alright? So keep it in a place that you feel is right. So that's what I added first. The next thing I added is this NS1 plugin. So this is also noise suppressor. So I'll show you a before and after. So without the plugin,
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset. I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
Basically, this plugin removed a lot of this background noises, right? So you can hear some noises that are very harsh, like shh, those kind of noises. So this plugin immediately removes that. I'll show you in some other place as well.
So I just lay back in my bed and let these tears flow.
Can you see the difference? Same thing if I do it here as well, okay? With this. So this is a wonderful plugin, okay? It immediately reduces the background noises, and I added a preset. So they have a bunch of presets. The one that I added is heavy noise and echo filter. Now, since this was a phone recording, I needed a lot of plugins to remove the noise from the background, and this worked really well. The next thing is a channel EQ. So definitely I had to cut a lot of the low frequencies, and that's why I needed this EQ. So I cut frequencies up till around 100 and a little bit of the high frequencies as well.
Home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset. I know that I regret, I can't take back the.
Okay, and the last thing that I added is a De-esser. So whenever we pronounce the S sound, sometimes inevitably we'll make it harsh, alright? So this plugin removes all that.
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
So that's why I added this plugin. So once I add all the plugins where I remove the noise, I immediately bounce the file. So I'll put Control B and like bounce it to a waveform, and then I click OK. Then after that, I'll put that back inside the track. So this is because we do not have to handle the mix that is not one single track, okay? Handling a single track helps us to be organized, and it gives us an easy flow of process also as well. It's better that you always do the editing part first and then bounce it back as one single track and work on that single track, alright? Now we're going to mix this track. So what I first added is a compressor. I increase the attack and release the ratio since this song is not a melodious song. I would not exactly say it's a rap, but it's kind of that, right?
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
The next thing, I added a channel EQ again, and then I lowered the low frequencies and slightly raised the frequencies around 6 kilohertz.
Home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you.
The next thing that I added is an R compressor. So this is also a Waves plugin. This is a good plugin, and I added the preset vocal rap. Yeah, I added that vocal rap.
Home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset. I know that I regret.
just to tighten the track a little bit, alright? Next are a bunch of bus effects. I'll explain through that. So the first bus that I added is, I named that as high end, alright? So what I basically did is, I wanted to boost the frequencies at the end in this vocal track. It gives a crispiness to this vocals, okay? But doing that in the channel strip itself will not sound great. So that's why I added it in a parallel track or in a bus track. What I basically did is, I added an EQ. So you can see here, right? So I basically cut all the frequencies till the high mid frequency. So almost till 4K, okay? And then I boosted the frequencies at the higher end, alright? So all the high frequencies, I boost them up really well. Now I've kept it at minus 9.3. So let me increase it and show you the effect.
I get home, I lay in bed and think about
Without,
things that made you upset. I know
with,
that I regret, I can't take back things I
without,
said. I
with.
know that the damage is done.
So you can get that crispiness, right? Like towards the end, you can hear those higher frequencies really working their way out. That's why I added this effect. So I boosted the higher frequencies. Sometimes while boosting the higher frequencies, chances are that the harshness of those S sounds, that can, increase in its volume. So what I did is added a de-esser.
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
Okay, so I added that, and the last thing that I added is another compressor. Okay, so again to tighten around the end. Now I've boosted this bus track, okay, just so that you can listen to this. First play it with the bus track and without the bus track, so you can know the difference clearly. This is with the bus track.
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
Without.
I know that I regret, I can't take back things I said. I know that the damage is done.
So you get an idea, right? So basically I increased it and then lowered it down slowly to check which level properly suits the track. The next effect that I added is an exciter. So basically what exciter does is, when you select a frequency, like say this frequency, it really adds harmonies to that frequency, okay? It's now at minus 10.5. Now I'll raise it and show to you.
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset. I know that I regret, I can't take back things I said. I know that the damage is done, so I just lay back
If you can listen closely, if you wear your headphones and then if you closely monitor when I switch that off and when I switch that on, you can clearly see the difference. So it adds harmonics to your track, alright? So around that frequency, you get harmonies and that makes the vocals brighter yet again. So that's what I did, and then I kept it at minus 10.4. Isn't that what I kept? So the next bust effect. So this is, I named that as short reverb. So basically I added a chroma verb. This is a stock plugin, and then I didn't meddle around with it that much. I just reduced the attack a bit. Pre-delay is set to 8 milliseconds and then the delay is for 2 seconds. Along with chroma reverb, I added an EQ. So it's important that you add EQ after a reverb, because otherwise the reverb will occupy a lot of headroom, okay? And like I said in one of my previous videos, headroom is important, alright? It should not get muddled up with a lot of unwanted frequencies. So when you add reverb, keep the frequencies that you really need and you can remove all the frequencies that you don't need. Whenever I add reverb, I generally cut the low frequencies because you really don't hear it. Even though you don't hear it, it's still there and that occupies space. I removed, the low frequencies, and then I lower the higher frequencies as well. So now when I play,
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
Okay, you can hear the reverb, right? So without the bus track,
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset. Okay, now let's move on. The next track that I added is a delay track. Alright, so I needed the track to have more space, so I added delay. Again, this is stereo delay and it is a stock plugin. So the left channel, so I changed it to 1/8 dotted, and the right channel I put it as 1/4. The other thing that I did is I added again a chroma verb right after the delay, but then this time the wet is not up till 100%. Alright, so in the previous track, in chroma verb, it's up to 100%. This time I didn't do that. I kept the dry and the wet signal almost equal to each other. So basically when you listen to it without the chroma verb, the drier signal's delay will overpower, alright? So let's listen to it. I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
Did you hear that in your earphone? So you get that left right thing. I didn't want the dry effect to overpower, so that's why I added a reverb, and that'll make it sound whole. Alright, so now listen to it.
I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset.
So you can still hear the delay, except that it has some wet signals in it, and that just goes on like that, so back and forth. Alright, so I did that, and then the final thing that I added is a compressor. So I did parallel compression.
I know that the damage is done, so I
a
get
little
home,
bit,
I
okay?
lay in bed and think about things that made. I get home,
So
I
just
lay.
a little bit I added compression again to tighten it up, and once I add all these plugins, this is the final output. Just listen to the vocals and listen to how each effect comes into play.
Yeah, yeah. I get home, I lay in bed and think about things that made you upset. I know that I regret, I can't take back things I said. I know that the damage is done, so I just lay back in my bed and let these tears flow.
So this is how I mix vocals. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give me a text either through Instagram. I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. And if you need classes from me, you can always DM me about that as well. I can, teach you about everything that I know about mixing and mastering, recording. I can give you a lot of tips to help you become a better producer. This is not the exact protocol that you need to follow. This is just how I do. You can experiment in the same way that I did, or you can, grab one or two ideas from my video and you can try it out in your project as well. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this, then be sure to click the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting every week, so you guys can continue learning along with me. Never stop making music, and I'll see you guys in the next video.